Hello, YouTube. It's Hikari again, and we're back reviewing episode 11 of Transit Love. And we're just gonna get straight into it. So, in episode 11, we start the episode off with the Wongyu Jihyeon X room. So Jihyeon and Wongyu both chose to enter the X room, which means they have to discuss for 10 minutes who is gonna get to go into the actual X room and who doesn't get to go. They start the timer and they read the reasons why the other person believes that they broke up. So Jihyeon wrote that she believes they broke up because of insincere love, and Wongyu wrote that he believes they broke up because of reality. Wongyu is basically like, I went to your talking room and I heard that you said that you didn't think I loved you sincerely. Like, why is that? And she was like, because I feel like you lost me over nothing. And she was like, back then, I don't really understand why we had to break up. I accepted it because you said we should break up, but I felt like our relationship was a lot more serious. She was basically like, it wasn't such a simple relationship that we should break up over something as like small as this. So in her mind, it was like, basically, that's how little you loved me. And Wongyu says, like, in his interview, he's basically like, oh, well, I didn't see it as a like nothing burger situation. He felt like they were very different people. And it wasn't that he wanted her to improve her financial standing or anything, but to like find something, stick to it, and like be stable in some way. But in his mind, he was like, she always pursues change. I always pursue stability. So we're just not compatible. And like two people who are incompatible like this can't get married. Jihyeon says during the X room, she's basically like, back then when we broke up, I said like, if we break up, I don't have the strength to hold on to you because I don't have the right to hold on to you and stop you from meeting somebody who would suit you better. So how could I stop you from leaving me? Like, I thought that was pretty sad that she said that. And she also said that something that he used to say to her all the time was, don't always chase your dreams, and that she was always chasing her dreams, which I thought was kind of cruel. So Wongyu is a doctor, and I understand that he is a very methodical person. He lives a very structured life, but Jihyeon works in the arts. Her dream is to be an actress. She got into a really difficult university for acting. It's not easy to enter that department in, I believe it was Seoul University, but she did that. And she's been working at this dream for like 10 years. In the arts, you never know when the opportunity will finally come your way or not. So for him to say that to her, I feel like was very disrespectful of her profession and also all of her hard work. If you think about it, she is an elite in her own world. In her profession, she is kind of elite considering the fact that she was able to go to such a good school that's extremely competitive for acting. And she's been working really hard at this dream. So I was like, I don't know. I thought it was kind of upsetting that he said that to her. And he was just like, we were just too different, and that's why the relationship had to end. And then she was like, well, if we were so different, then why did you want to marry me? And he was like, well, back then, I loved you so much. I thought that I would be able to handle whatever came our way and that, like, I could marry you and not worry about anything. But reality just, like, didn't allow that to happen. Then Wongyu was going to continue talking, but Jihyeon was basically like, we got to wrap this conversation up because like our 10 minutes are almost up. And she was like, I've been crying so much just talking to you. There's no reason for me to like go into the room. So you should go. So Wongyu goes inside and Jihyeon leaves. And that's how their like discussion before the X room ends. So they go inside and you can see that there's like their X room. I'll be honest. Their X room is a little bit empty. Like the previous X room was designed to look like with what was it? Mingyang and Yushik? With them two, it was designed to look like a classroom and it reflected kind of their whole trajectory of their relationship. This X room is like, it has like their stuff all over the place and there are like balloons in the middle, but it doesn't give their relationship any kind of identity. Now, I think what they were going for was kind of like marriage vibes, or like, you know, like when you go to a bachelorette party or whatever, I guess like a one that's like at a restaurant or something that shows it like, or maybe like an engagement party. I feel like they were trying to dress it up to make it look like an engagement party, and then show all the parts of the relationship that kind of like got cooked by their differences. Something I want to point out is that they print out this huge ass. It's like this really huge poster of their text messages because they broke up over text message. Of their text message that has all of the stuff that they sent back to each other, back and forth to each other when they like broke up and made the decision to just like clear things up and like go their separate ways. Why'd they do that? It looks so crazy. It's just like this huge ass poster of a bunch of text messages hanging over a chair. I fully did not get that. Wongyu talks a little bit about being restricted in the relationship. So like, for example, there was a 2-week period where he was moving like jobs essentially, and he wanted to go traveling by himself to someplace nearby. And he was like to Jihyeon, well, can I go traveling by myself? It's just like one night. It's like 2 days, 1 night or whatever. And she was like, no, I don't want you to do that. So he didn't go. But he felt like there were like a lot of things like that where he was like, oh, I like want to go do this thing on my own or whatever. And she's always telling me, don't do this, don't do that. So I feel like I'm not living my own life. Like this is kind of related to the fight that caused them to break up. So their text messages, like it turns out that the day that they had the fight, what happened was that Wongyu has a female best friend that he's had for like 10 years. And she's getting married. And in Korea, it is customary for the bride and the groom to go wedding dress shopping together. So in the US or like in the Western world, it's like a cultural taboo for the groom to see the bride in her wedding dress before the wedding day. In Korea, it's the opposite. The groom is actually supposed to go there and help her choose the dress. It's part of a whole thing. And it's like, you really should only have that experience with the person that you are getting married to. But for some reason, her husband that day couldn't come to see the wedding dress with her. And so she asked a bunch of her other like female friends, like, hey, can you come wedding dress shopping with me? But she was like, oh, I think it'd be nice to have like a guy's point of view while shopping for the dress. So she asked him if he could come like with all the girls and check out the dress at the boutique and be like, what's good, what's not good, whatever. So he was like, sure, I'll go. And then he told Jihyeon, and Jihyeon got really upset because she was like, but it's another woman's wedding dress. Like, how could you go see another woman's wedding dress and it's not like mine, considering like everything? And so they fought about that a lot back and forth. And eventually she kind of like relented and was like, fine, just go and whatever, come back or whatever. So he goes, he comes back, but a few days later, it was still bothering her, right? So then she brings it up again and she's like, I'm really upset. Like, I kind of just let you go because we were fighting so much about it. But to be honest, I wasn't okay with the situation. And then he got mad again. This is the day that they broke up now. And so this is when they fought over the phone because he was like, but you said it was okay. And now you're saying that it wasn't okay. Well, so then you should have just continued saying it wasn't okay in the first place. And then they fought again. And then they hung up. And that's when Wongyu sends the text message where he's basically like, we're too different. We should break up. So actually, the real reason they broke up was because of this like female best friend, which I thought was kind of crazy. I could understand how this could be confusing if you're not Korean looking at this from an outside perspective. But because I understand Korean culture to a certain extent, I can say like wholeheartedly that Wongyu was wrong in this situation. It's just culturally inappropriate for you to go see another woman's wedding dress, like have that experience, like shopping for it and picking it out. That is something that the bride and the groom are supposed to do. And for him to do that, no matter how close he was with his friend, is crossing a certain line. Even more so because they were dating like seriously and they were dating with marriage in mind. He's supposed to have that first and unique experience with her. And I think it's totally fair for her to be upset about it. I think the female best friend is a little bit weird for asking him to come, knowing that he's in such a serious relationship. She's not like his friend with benefits or something. He's seriously dating her as a marriage partner. I don't know. This was kind of weird. And I didn't understand why he said yes. I don't understand why she asked him in the first place. So the projector turns on just like with Mingyung, and the Jihyeon talks about like the hoodie that he returned to her. So like after 7 months, he contacted her to give back the hoodie that she gave him for her birthday. And she was basically like, why is he contacting me now that I'm doing well? This was after she got a job as an acting instructor at a really well-known and prestigious high school for the arts. So in her mind, she was like, oh, he's only contacting me now because I'm like doing well and gaining stability, like he's always wanted me to do. Like he wasn't by my side when I needed him the most, but now he wants to hit me up when I'm doing well. And Wongyu was like, oh, I think that's like a misunderstanding. And I was just trying to like cheer you on, not like get back together with you. And so he was like, I need to talk to her and address this misunderstanding. And so he leaves the X room. From this whole situation, I just think Wongyu lacks a certain amount of tact and general understanding. Honestly, though, I'm also thinking that Wongyu was kind of right. They are very different. She's a very emotional and sensitive person, and he is, I wouldn't say cold, but he just doesn't take all the things to heart that maybe other people normally would. And I kind of understand that because I am very similar to Wongyu in this way. As an INTJ, like I think the things that bother other people and make them emotionally sensitive, I have found don't often do those things to me, and I don't put in a lot of meaning into very specific situations or words or like, and I understand what is attractive about dating someone who is really emotionally sensitive and in tune in that way, because they're so different from you. It's like seeing a whole new world, and in some ways it adds color to your world when you are kind of more of a monotonous person. But at the end, like, I think Wongyu is trying to get her back now because he does miss that, and he realizes like how good he had it, essentially, what a great person she was and how much he loved her and how he really doesn't feel like he can like live without her now. I just don't want them to get back together, though, more so for Jihyeon's sake, less than Wongyu. Like Wongyu said, they're not compatible, and I think Jihyeon will always crave some level of sweetness and that sensitivity that he cannot give her emotionally. And I think it would be kind of sad just because she still has all these feelings for him and she really dreamed of building a future with him, that she would get back together, get married, and then always like live kind of craving that kind of attention and love that I just don't think he's capable of giving. I just don't think he is that person. I'm not saying that makes him bad. I'm just saying that makes them incompatible. Like, I feel like their marriage will always be a little bit unhappy. I mean, that's the reason why he broke up with her. He is now following his emotions, which he doesn't normally do, because he still loves her so much. But in this interview, he didn't seem to recognize what he did wrong. I think he needs to understand that more first and understand that he has to kind of change at least how he expresses himself to her, or else this will never work. So that was kind of my impression from this scenario, situation, whatever. Okay, Woojin, Jihyeon, X room. Man. All right, so Jihyeon and Woojin both choose to see the X room, and they check their envelopes, and Jihyeon's envelope says they broke up because of loneliness, and Woojin says they broke up because of negligence. She sees the word negligence, she gets mad. Girl. And basically, she kind of spends 10 minutes yelling at him. Not really yelling at him, but she spends the next 10 minutes being angry, and she's like, you shouldn't have gotten upset at me when I was pursuing someone else. I told you very clearly that I didn't want to get back together. I've never confused you. I don't know what I've done wrong while being here. And he's like, oh, you haven't done anything wrong. You were always good to me in our relationship. She's like, exactly. Like, I feel like I met everything I was supposed to do, and I did everything I was supposed to do in our relationship. I tried my best when I was with you, but now you keep getting mad at me, and I don't understand that. And he was like, I'm sorry, like, I was wrong, essentially. And so then he asked her, like, well, why did you come into the room? And she was like, I came into the room out of consideration for you. I figured if you weren't here, it meant that you would want me to see it. So she was like, since you're here, you should go and take a look and decide if you really think us getting back together is the correct choice for us to make or not. And then she leaves. And Woojin is like crying after this. It wasn't really a conversation. It was kind of a unilateral kind of lashing from her. I am on her side in that he doesn't have the right to be super duper angry with her. However, I hate that she's making me do this. I hate taking a man's side, bro. But the problem is that she does certain actions that definitely cross a line to a certain extent. I want to be on her side while she's talking about this and expressing how she doesn't feel that it's right that he has been angry at her. But while she's having this conversation with him, she's wearing another man's t-shirt, the t-shirt that she essentially kind of stole from Wongyu. He was drunk when he gave it to her, so I don't really consider it consensual giving, to be honest. And I think that's disrespectful, in my opinion. I think people are being too harsh with her on the internet, but I also don't think it was considerate for her to take up all 10 minutes basically unilaterally yelling at him for having remaining feelings, considering they only broke up 3 months ago. What's wrong is him getting angry at her. It was fair for her to address that. Not just fair, I think it was right. And I'm glad to see her stand up for herself. And I'm glad to see Woojin finally understand that he was wrong for doing what he did. But I do think, considering this is like pre-ex room, you said you came in here out of consideration for your ex, then it's not considerate to take up all 10 minutes unilaterally yelling at the person while wearing another man's t-shirt. That's the problem. Now, if she had changed her shirt and said, I came in here because of this, and I wanted to tell you about this, I feel these certain things have been disrespectful, and I really would like you to respect the fact that I don't want to reunite, and I will stop going around all over the place telling everybody in the world that I want to not reunite, or whatever. Like, if she had said it like this, I think it could have been better. In a way, it is fair, though, because he did unilaterally kind of scold her at 6 a.m. in the morning, so now she gets to do it back. So now they're even. I just wish she had not been wearing this t-shirt. The whole time she's talking about this, she's wearing this t-shirt, and it makes me incapable of 100% being on her side, because she's wearing this shirt and it's so wrong. It's so wrong to wear this shirt and also say what she's saying. It comes off as hypocritical in some ways. Whatever, man. Bro goes into the X room, okay? And so the X room is designed specifically like Jihyeon's apartment. And because they had most of their dates at Jihyeon's apartment, they couldn't meet during normal times because he was always working when she was sleeping and she was always working when he was sleeping, blah, blah, blah. So they had a lot of dates at her house, and like it has all the pictures and their letters and things like that. And it has like the calendars that shows her marking all the days when she wanted them to meet or thought they could meet. And then eventually like X's where it's like, oh, we can no longer meet on these days. And in the interview they show on the projector, she talks about how every time like there would be a situation that occurred where like they were supposed to meet and he couldn't, or he said something hurtful, she would tell herself it's not because he doesn't have feelings anymore, it's because he's working really hard at setting up the restaurant. Things will get better once the restaurant is set up. Things will get better once he is more stable in his business. But like she would build up her conviction to like stay in the relationship, then something would happen and that conviction would break, and then she would put it back together piece by piece, and then it would break. And at some point she just didn't feel like she could keep on doing that anymore, and that's what led to her making that decision to break up in the end. And Woojin says like at the end, like he finally understands like how lonely she was now, and he now can totally understand how she was feeling, and that's how that ends. So I think this will lead to Woojin finally moving on. I think maybe he needed this to like clear up any remaining feelings he has. I fully hope he starts dating Mi-kyung seriously now, because I don't want to see him pursue Jihyeon anymore when Jihyeon is never going to change her mind. Okay, so back at the house, Yuji comes back from the X room and he goes to sleep. But Mi-kyung sees that he comes back and she wants to talk to him because she wants to see like what he's thinking after being in the X room. So she knocks on his door and she opens it, but she realizes he's sleeping and she closes it. So then she's depressed because she's like, well, he's sleeping, I can't talk to him. She goes to sleep, and then in her sleep, she starts crying and she calls out his name. Like she calls out for him while crying, and she wakes up crying, and she's like, oh no, like I am literally sleep talking his name and crying for him. And then like she like lies down and she cries again. So it's just, she's having a hard time. I felt really bad for her watching this. Wongyu and Jihyeon talk outside. Originally they were eating apples in the kitchen, but then Wongyu makes an excuse to get Jihyeon to come outside with him to eat the apples, and they have like a baby fight. It's not really a fight, but he brings up the hoodie and he's like, oh, I don't know why you thought like I was just trying to get back together. I was just contacting you to like cheer you on. I had no idea how you were doing at the time or that you got a job or anything. It wasn't like that. I never said like I wanted to meet with you again ever. And she was like, it's kind of weird that you're saying like ever, never, ever like that. Like, you can calm down. And he was like, I was thinking of you because of our birthdays. So their birthdays are a day apart, literally. I forget exactly what day it is, but like, let's pretend if he was born on the 20th and she was born on the 21st, it's like that. So because like their birthdays are literally right next to each other, it's what made him think of her. And he was like, also, I don't know if like I have the right to do this or like tell you this, but the time you spent with other guys here, like I want to know, is it strong enough romantic interest that you feel can overpower our time that we spent together? And she's like, it's not that it overpowers the time that we spent together. It's that I already dated you and I saw what the conclusion was. So now when I meet new people, I can have expectations that things can be different and I can see that potential. Whereas with you, I already know how things went. And she was basically like, oh, all the guys here are so sweet. Everyone else here had such a great relationship, it feels like. And I feel like you're the only person here who was incapable of being sweet, like in the relationship. And he was like, I feel like you're doing really well here, but seeing you do well makes me jealous. And I hate it, even though I don't have the right to hate it, but I hate it. And she's like, you hate it? And so she's like, so you hate seeing me do stuff? And he's like, yeah, because I can tell you have someone you're interested in. And she's like, yeah, because I don't have a reason to hide it. And he's like, oh, why do you always make me annoyed? And she's like, you too, you were eating ramen at the crack of dawn with some other girl, and you don't even eat ramen normally. And she was like, oh, I guess you had butterflies, like eating ramen with another girl at the crack of dawn or whatever. And he was like, I can't tell you that. Like, I can neither deny nor affirm these allegations, essentially. And she was like, okay, whatever, I'm going inside. And he basically the conversation ends with him basically being like, so when are we going to go on our date? When are we going to go on our date? And she's basically like, I'm leaving. And so she leaves. And later she has a conversation with Yushik where she finally finds out that Yushik is a lot more interested in Hyunji than he is in her. So she realizes like that's not going to happen. Wongyu could have done a better job with this conversation, honestly. I think he did a bad job expressing himself here, but I think he's just bad at expressing himself in general. This is something he has to fix if he wants to get back together. Okay, Hyunji goes into the X room, and it is super duper duper insane. Baekhyun chooses not to enter the X room. No surprise there, because he's not getting back together with this girl, even though I kind of wish they would. So she enters the room, and the minute she enters the room, she starts bawling like no one's business. I have never seen a girl cry this hard. I fully thought while watching this scene that she was gonna have a panic attack. Like, she actually looked like she was on the verge of passing out. That's how much she cried. I cannot say enough how crazy she cried in this room. Like, it was fully insane. She was flopping her body all over the floor. She was standing up. She was sitting down. I don't know why she cried like this. I was like, is she okay? The way she cried, you would think she was attending his funeral, bro. She cried like her grandfather died, bro. In front of her eyes, like got hit with a car in front of her eyes. That's how she cried. And I was like, okay, I'm usually a Hyunji defender. Not defender. I don't even care about her that much, but sometimes I feel like she gets a little bit too much flack for no reason. But I was like, you dated this man 5 years ago for 2 years. Why are you crying like he passed away? What? I thought it was a bit strange. Something in the X room that was interesting that was there is that there's a bottle of water that he bought for her when she was coming off the plane or something. And it's like the same bottle of water from 5 years ago that he's been holding on to, that he bought for her in the past, that he hasn't opened for 5 years. That's some fucking nasty water, bro. I'm sorry. Why are we holding on to water? You got letters. You can throw that shit out. Baekhyun appears in the projector and he's like, oh, any free time I had, I used it on her. We matched in everything so well, except for our personalities. And that's why our relationship didn't work out. We got back together, we broke up. We got back together, we broke up. And he was like, I feel like out of all the relationships I've had in my life, this is the relationship I regret the most, because if I was more mature, then I could have handled things better with her. I could have been more kind with my words and we wouldn't have hurt each other so much. And she sees that, she breaks down crying again, like her whole family has just been killed in front of her. And then she leaves the room sobbing. I don't know why she cried like this. She's getting hella picked on online for this. we're gonna come back to the whole Hyunji situation at the end of this, because the producer of the show did an interview recently where she talks about this, and it puts some things into perspective when you think about like the show and stuff. Okay, Yoon Young X reveal. So they show Yoon Young not entering the room, and basically Jihyeon chooses to enter the room, and that's when they reveal that they were exes. She says herself, like, she didn't go in because she was like, I have feelings for someone else, and I got rid of everything anyways when we broke up, so nothing in there would have been mine. They dated from March 14th, 2018 to April 17th, 2019, so 11 months. And they dated back when they were in high school, so when she was 18 and when he was 19. And Jihyeon describes her as her first love. And the reason behind the breakup was the army. Basically, like, since he had to go to the army soon, he was spending all of his free time with his friends, and he never wanted to spend time with her. So she felt really lonely. And eventually she was like, I just feel like I don't have any feelings for you anymore. I never see you. And instead of spending time with me, considering you're about to go to the army, you're always spending time with your friends. You're hanging out in like gaming cafes and doing stupid shit, and I'm tired of this. So he called her like every day for a week, crying and begging her not to break up. And she was like, if you really cared about me, you would just stop contacting me. And he was like, fine, I wish you the best. And then they broke up. So you can see their clocks that basically they're both saying generally they kind of want to move on more. Surprisingly, Yoon Young says that she's a little bit more open to getting back together because she's like, well, I haven't seen him in so long, and the person I met now is so different from the person I broke up with that it's like meeting a new person. So if she feels like they still like click like that romantically, since he seems so different, she could see a chance in them getting back together, but not because it's like for their old feelings. It's because she sees him as someone new now. He's not the person she broke up with. So I thought that was cute. Whatever. They came on the show to be influencers together. Blah, blah. So Jihyeon goes into the X room, and you can see everything in the X room is Jaehyung's, which is crazy. He has these two diaries, one that he wrote in while he was dating Yoon Young and one afterwards. And he wrote in it like every single day talking about how he hopes she's happy after they broke up and things like that, and how sad he was. What's crazy about all this stuff in the X room is that they broke up 6 years ago, but he still has all of this stuff. These diaries and the pictures and like the hoodies and just all this stuff from their relationship. Most people, if it was something like 6 years ago, would have thrown it out. So I guess it's true that Jaehyung sees her as his first love. Jaehyung and Jihyeon later at night, when everybody's back from their X rooms or whatever, they go out to the terrace, and Jaehyung is basically like, I'm only interested in you. I really want to talk to you, and I hope that we can, you know, get together, do something, go on a date, whatever. So he's really forward with Jihyeon. Jihyeon really likes it. She's like, okay, there's still somebody here who likes me. I'm gonna start showing some interest in him. And that's basically what happens here. So now we have texts on day 8. I'm not gonna talk about most of these texts. I'm just gonna talk about 2. Pretty much everybody texted the person they're interested in, with the exception of 2. Woojin texts Jihyeon, and he's like, I'm sorry, and let's get along well from now on. So I think that is like a final point in their like reunion story, as in it's not going to happen. He's finally going to move on. Then Mingyung texts Ushik, and she's like, I want us to talk later. Let's talk. Because she wants to know like what he's thinking. And then afterwards, the doorbell rings, and they go downstairs to see who it is, and there's a new guy. They don't show us his face, but there's a new guy. And that's basically how the episode ends. Like, literally, not that much stuff happened, but also stuff happened at the same time. This is kind of an X Room episode, where it normally should be very emotional, and the stories of the relationship should really take front row. It was weirdly anticlimactic. And so I want to talk about a little bit the PD who is currently in charge of this season. The PD is short for producer. The producer who's in charge of this season also did season 3, but they were not the producer for season 1 and 2. And the producer from season 1 and 2, she's a producer who made the show. And then she like left to go do other stuff. And so the current producer essentially took over. And ever since season 3, there have been a lot of complaints about the pacing of the show, the choices to release 1 episode a week instead of 2 episodes a week, which, yes, I do think is a problem. And she did an interview recently, basically defending herself and insinuating that Yushik and Hyunji are going to be endgame, so everybody better get on board. And I was like, so you just spoiled your own show that is 22 episodes long. Yeah, it was supposed to be 20 episodes, but apparently they extended it to 22 episodes. On top of that, you are doubling down instead of taking any kind of responsibility for the quality of work that you are putting out. I cannot understand this, but this explains why she is so willing to evil edit like Mingyung and Baekhyun for the purpose of propping Hyunji and Yushik up. I guess they must still be dating to this day. I can't understand why they have negative chemistry. I don't get it. They're uninteresting. But I guess since if that's the couple that ends up being like the transfer couple, like the couple that's born from the Sea of X's this season, then I guess she has to double down on whatever narrative to make people support it. But like, or you could just show everyone equally and show the relationships that we do like. In my head, I'm like, Baekhyun and Yoonyoung are getting along. Now, I'm not really a Baekhyun Yoonyoung supporter either, by the way. Like, I don't know if I support any of these people. You know who I support? Mingyung and Woojin. I can't believe I'm saying this because, like, literally, I think last week I called Woojin borderline abusive, but I believe he can change. And I think Mingyung is very similar to him in that they're both quite serious. I don't think they would have the same relationship problems that she had with Yushik and that he had with Jihyeon. I just think they would be better together and they have good chemistry. Baekhyun and Yoonyoung are fun, but I just don't see it. I don't see it extending beyond the show. Like, I just think it's fun in this moment, but I don't think they will date long term. I think Jihyeon and Wongyu are going to get back together against everything that I hope for, which is unfortunate. Girl, I don't know. Apparently episode 12 is supposed to be extremely explosive or whatever. So I guess we'll see. I guess I will recap that on Sunday or something whenever I get back from Turkey week. If you enjoyed this review, comment, like, subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.